Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Has everyone got a hand up? Has anyone that's not got a hand up? There's three more here. Just pass them towards the back, inshallah.
I already.
So moving on to the back side, the reverse side of the handout. One of the things that hopefully just what we done now, reflecting on it, there's many things that we learn. Hopefully one of them is the feeling that we get when we try and develop a connection with Allah. It's something you can never describe to somebody, you can never explain it to somebody in words. When a person, he becomes close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes we always have this habit of asking other people to make dua for us, but which is fine if you want to ask somebody to make dua for you, but more important than that, firstly you've got to make dua for yourself and learn to build your own connection with Allah. Allah doesn't tell us to become, Islam is not about that. Islam is never about building a relation with your imam, or building a relation with your friend who's more pious than you, or building a relation with whoever's going for Hajj this year so they make dua for you when they get there. Islam is not about that. There's no kind of mizaj of that at all in Islam. Allah's very open in the fact that Allah's there for every single one of us individually. That whenever we want Allah, we ourselves can get Allah directly. There's no medium there. It's not like other religions. Sometimes you have to go through so many other people to get to their God. We have our own Allah. Allah's just as I have an Allah, every one of us has an Allah. My Allah is not like I have some special access to Allah that nobody else has. Everybody has the same access. It's just about developing that and becoming somebody who actually bothers to have a connection. If we never speak to Allah, and then we go, and the only time we have any connection with Allah is when we ask somebody else to make dua for us, and we say, I've got this problem in my life, so tell God, tell your God, almost as if like we have no relation to Him ourselves. And then we wonder why we don't feel anything in our salah, why we don't feel the Quran, why we don't like doing dua. We have to become people whose du'as are actually a conversation with Allah, that we actually get our problem solved from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Looking at the first point, dua being the first resort. So when we look at the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever there's a problem in the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and generally in the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, the first thing they would do would resort to salah. In fact, if you look at that hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he advised Anas radiallahu anhu specifically that for everything ask Allah. Everyone should ask Allah for everything, even if it's for a shoelace. That the first thing that you should worry about nowadays, whenever we have a problem, the first thing we should do is ask Allah. Unfortunately, nowadays the last thing we do is always ask Allah. When we try everything else and everyone else fails on us, or every other thing that we try and do fail, then we start making dua and then we decide. Islamically, the first thing we do is we ask Allah and we get His assistance in this. If Allah makes it easy for us, then even the hardest thing will become easy. And if we don't have Allah's help with us, then even the easiest thing will be so hard. But we don't think about asking Allah before we do even the simplest of things. We have to ask Allah that He makes it easy for us. And we make this a habit of ourselves, that regularly whenever we have anything to do, we ask Allah to help us in doing that. This is the first very important thing, that we make this a part of our life, that we always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And another thing is, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, very often he speaks about dua, he speaks ad-du'a mukhul ibadah. Dua is the essence of worship. Dua is ibadah in itself. Is something. So now when we look at this hadith, we see that dua is something we're meant to be doing all the time, every day, very often. It's not something just sometimes we happen to do it. If somebody finishes the Quran, we do some dua. If we go and eat at somebody's restaurant, we do dua before we're eating. If we just do dua at random times for barakah, then this is not the point of dua. Dua is a lot. It's mine, man. My relation with Allah is going to be based on dua. So it's something we should have every day. So now there's different books that we try and have. There's many books which are specifically written, and we gave these out in Ramadan when I first came as well, and this year as well we gave them out, which they're called Hizbul Azam. And this book, it will have du'as to recite every day, and there'll be specific prayers that we ask for Allah. And now this is a very good way, reading this book is a very good way of every day making du'a. So every day we say some part of that, so that way at least we've got du'a in our lives. And also we have different things at different times of the day, we have different things that we can do. And this is something we should try and make a part of our life. So regularly we're doing something and we're making dua to Allah. Having a book which has different du'as in it for different days is one of the best ways we can do that. And then looking at next one, the du'as for occasional activities. So now there's the other book there, the blue one, which is called the 99 Supplications. And we went through this before as well. So they're available over there. So now in this book what we find is du'as for the morning, du'as for entering the toilet, du'as for coming out the toilet, du'as for eating, du'as when you forget to eat, all of these du'as for your daily life, and especially du'as for the morning and the evening, all of these different du'as we have. So now we learn these and we try and bring them one by one into our lives. So we take the book and every day we bring one into our life. Every week at least we bring one of these du'as into our life. When we come into the masjid, mashallah, the du'as written there. When we leave the masjid, the du'as written on the door as well. So we try and at least get this one starting. We'll start with that one. Then when we enter into our house, we read the dua. We leave our house, we read that dua. When we're driving our car, we read the dua for traveling. There's many du'as for traveling, so many du'as. We learn a new one all the time. And then we have Allah with us then. So all of these things. When we go into the toilet, we pray that dua. When we're eating, we pray dua. There's du'as for so many different things. We try and find the du'as and we try and bring them into our lives for all of these kind of things. And this is again, when the Prophet ﷺ says that dua is something which is the essence, then this is a way of bringing it into our lives. So one way is to get a book which gives us random du'as which you can read anytime. Another is specific activities have specific du'as. We try and learn those as well. And there's different times of the day where du'as are accepted. And when we come to the masjid, we find that when the adhan, between the adhan and iqamah, this is one beautiful time. So when the adhan has happened, when we're waiting for salah, this is the time. So this also encourages us to come early to the masjid. So instead of coming 2 minutes before, we try and come 10-15 minutes before the adhan. We know adhan will happen 15-20 minutes before. So if there's time to get our du'as accepted, this is one time we pray to Allah. After the salah, after we pray our farz salah, we don't have to be in the masjid for this. So even if we are home and we're praying our farz salah, the dua is accepted afterwards. So we try and have these things that we make dua for ourselves, for our family, and the people need to make dua after every farz salah. And we say it with meaning, and then again this is our communication with Allah. Because many of us, we don't understand what we're praying in our salah. So after our salah we make sure we say something and we speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then. Then in the last third of the night there's a specific hadith where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He promises to accept all the du'as that are made at that time. So we try and, this is obviously something very difficult for some of us, but the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah are coming up as well. So those of us that have made intention already to fast all these 9 days, from Sunday or Monday all the way through till the day of Eid, the day of Arafah, we're going to fast these 9 days. So then we're going to wake up early and probably have sahri. Many of us, we are very firm on this culturally that we have sahri, and it's a very important sunnah as well. So when we do this, we try and wake up a bit earlier, and these are the best days of the year. Like we mentioned on Friday, this is very important that we realize that most scholars, they agree on this, that Ramadan is not as virtuous as the 9 days of the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, the virtue which comes for these, and the Quran, the oaths which Allah takes on these 10 days, and the hadith, the virtue the hadith give to these 10 days is not the same as the virtue which is given to Ramadan or any 10 days of Ramadan. So these days are very, very virtuous. So fasting in these days is very, very, very virtuous. If we can't fast, then this tahajjud time is also very good as well. But during the day we try and improve ourselves, we try and increase our dua, we try and do these things and get our duas accepted. We try and keep this in mind, inshallah, that from Sunday this is going to stop. So we try and fast, because the main thing that we can, one of the reasons the scholars give that why Dhul Hijjah are the most virtuous, because many things come together, and one of them is fasting becomes virtuous, and as well as that Hajj comes at this time as well, and Hajj you can't do any other time of the year. So because these different worships come together, fasting and doing Hajj and doing Udhiyah and all of these different virtues, they make the days very, very blessed. And also, even if we don't want to believe this, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't make every day the same. So we have this motivation that we've got 9 days coming which are so virtuous. What are we going to do to make the most of them? And one of the best ways is to fast. And also some of us, we need to fast so that we can sort our bodies out and we can inshallah start going to the gym after Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, we set up our group to get our gym partners. Nobody's found a partner yet, unfortunately. Everyone's making intentions but nobody's coming yet. But alhamdulillah, inshallah, we'll develop that as well, inshallah. So many people make promises, mashallah. But anyway. So the last time of night, whenever performing a good deed, so again going through the bullet points, whenever we perform a good deed, so for example now we said we'll pray 2 rakats then do dua, we won't just do dua randomly, because then this is something which gets us accepted in the Quran. Many Quran indicates that when you do something good, then it gets rid of evil and then it gets us close to Allah, Allah accepts the dua. So this is something, we have an opportunity, we do something good and then we make dua. And then the 5th point is on Jummah, between the khutbah we try and make dua. But generally the last point is the best point. whenever we turn to Allah. We look at certain hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions that in Allah يَبْسُطْ يَدَهُ بِاللَّيْلِ لِيَتُوبْ مَسِيءَ النَّهَارِ. That Allah, He spreads His hand during the night time in order to forgive everybody who sinned during the daytime. وَاللَّهُ يَبْسُطُ يَدَهُ بِالنَّهَارِ لِيَتُوبْ مُسِيءَ اللَّيْلِ. And anybody that sinned at night time, Allah's there throughout the whole day to forgive this person. Allah mentions in the Quran, He tells the Prophet ﷺ that وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي, that whenever my slaves, they ask you about me, whenever they come, He doesn't give any condition. Whenever they come and they ask you about me, He doesn't say they ask you how to get close to me, or how to become pious, or how to make dua to me, or how to become a waliullah, or how to get close to me. They didn't say any of this. Whenever they just ask you anything about me, then فَإِنِّي قَرِيب, Allah replies that I am close all the time, whenever they've asked. Just when somebody shows a small interest, He's close. And the other hadith we find in dhikr, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, He mentions that a person who comes to me by one handspan, I go to him by an arm's length. A person who comes by arm's length, I come a cubit's length. When a person walks towards me, أَتَيْتُهُ هَرْوَلَ, I come running onto this person. We take one step to Allah, Allah says, and then this Qur'an is very special actually. It's one of the very, very beautiful verses. وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. I accept the dua, a small one dua of a person, and the da'i, a person who may have just made one dua, a random person who made one dua, I will always accept this dua of this person. So this is the value that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in other hadith, He implores us to, like in Surah Infitar, He asks that in Surah Takwir, He says فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ, that where are you going? You're leaving the Quran, you're leaving the revelation, you're leaving the guidance of Allah, and you're going away. And in Surah Infitar, what does He say in Surah Infitar? Yeah, but after that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in Surah Infitar that مَا غَرَّكَ بِرَبِّكَ الْكَرِيمِ, that what is it that has turned you away from رَبُّكَ الْكَرِيمِ. He describes Himself as Kareem, the one who's willing to do whatever He wants. When Allah speaks in this tahajjud time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He comes to the first sky, and then He comes and He opens, He says that مَنْ يَدْعُنِي مَنْ يَسْأَلُنِي فَأَعْطِيَهُ, who's going to ask me anything, أَعْطِيَهُ, I'll give it to him. فَمَنْ يَدْعُنِي, whoever makes dua, then أَسْتَجِيب, I will answer his dua. And مَنْ يَسْتَغْفِرُنِي فَأَسْتَغْفِرُ لَهُ, whoever does istighfar at this time, I will forgive him. He makes promise of everything. Whatever you ask for, I'll give it. So these are the promises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes in the Quran, in the hadith. The way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presents Himself is for every single one of us to make a connection with Him. And dua is one of the best ways. So dua is something that, in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ mentions that لَيْسَ شَيْءٌ أَكْرَمِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ مِنَ الدُّعَى. There's nothing which is more akram, more honorable in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than dua. And to the extent, even in another hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions, and this is actually there, which I forgot to read it out, where Allah, this is right at the bottom, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions that, the Prophet ﷺ mentions that whoever does, right at the bottom, whoever does not ask Allah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, يَغْضِبْ عَلَيْهِ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes angry with this person. This is how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala implores us to make dua to Him, speak to Him, take from His treasures. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then He, in other hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He explains the extent of His treasures. That if all of you got together, the whole ummah got together, all of you asked from beginning to end, all of mankind came into one field, fi sa'idin wahid, and they all asked me all of their needs, and I give everyone their needs, then this will not decrease from my treasures the equivalent of if you were to take a needle and dip it in the ocean, the amount that would decrease from the ocean, this will not decrease even that much from my treasures. So these are the promises Allah gives of the vastness of His treasures and the openness which is always there ready for us, waiting for us. In fact, Allah mentions that مَا غَرَّ, why have you turned away from me? Come back to me. And dua is this one way we redevelop and rekindle our relationship. And just on a last point, inshallah, alhamdulillah, mashallah, our numbers go up and down every week, mashallah. Today we've got low numbers, but alhamdulillah, I know, mashallah, Brother Umar brought some extra people. But we see some people that were here last week who aren't here this week. Some people, that came at the beginning. Some people promised to come, don't come. Many of us may have friends who say that they're going to come and don't come. So it's up to all of us. I can't send all the messages. So some of us should also be doing the marketing as well. We should all have this worrying concern. Mashallah, one brother always brings his brother with him. And today, mashallah, it was very nice to see some of us walk in with new people that we brought. And I could tell, mashallah, there's a lot of effort gone behind this. So everyone should have this worry and concern that our numbers don't just go down and numbers, we should be increasing. That's what makes the community. And today we've got new people. So, and there's some people, unfortunately, who came last week who can't make it as well. But when we have new people, this whole point of this tea and coffee is not to give you tea and coffee. I'm not that nice. The point of it is that everyone makes a new friend. We all find out the names of these new people that have come. Everyone should know who these new people are. None of us should leave without knowing their names, inshallah. And we've got guests as well. We've got these extra 11, 10 people who've come from different parts of the world, country. They've seen Essex. We can, give them Mubarak, how lucky they are to be in the best county in the country. They've come here. So again, they're here as well. So we all try and we make this community. Next week, we should have these people as well, and we should all try and bring extra people with us. And this is what makes the community. That's what's going to make the community. That's going to increase our love. And like we mentioned, the hadith that we said, the way we get the reward of that person who Allah puts under His arsh, whose heart is attached to the masjid. How do we make the masjid a place where people's hearts are attached? We ourselves make the environment. The people make the environment. The environment's made by us. So now the environment we make in that room last week was terrible. For those of you that remember, in that room, the environment, no one was speaking. So inshallah, we try and be a bit open. We try and make sure we get to know people, and we try and smile as well as we walk into the room, inshallah. So I make dua that gives me and all of us the ability to understand.